Hey, Matt Scratch here. So today I'm working on my 2000 Dodge Neon. I'm going to be replacing the alternator. This one is still charging fine, but on longer trips I'm noticing a smell from it. I checked it with my temperature gun. It's running hot on the rear bearing, and I actually seen some smoke coming off of it recently after a long highway trip. So my recent video regarding the smell in my catalytic converter was bad. When I took it apart, it was all collapsed inside, but I don't think that was the smell because it didn't really get rid of my smell, and it turns out the smell is coming from the alternator. So I had two problems at once. Luckily, I have this used alternator that's in good working order, so I'm going to go ahead and install it, and I'll just show you guys the process. Before we actually get started with removing the alternator, we're going to go ahead and remove the negative battery cable. That'll avoid any chances of shorting out anything. So on a Neon, the alternator is just down here. I believe you can see the front of it right there. So of course the first thing you want to do is get the belt off. And to get the belt off, you have to loosen off that jam nut down there, which is 15 millimeter, and then there's an adjuster bolt here which is 13 millimeter. So if you loosen that off, the alternator will move back and allow the belt to come off. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll go down to the boggin bolt, which if I remember right, I think it's 15 as well. It might be 18, I could be wrong, we'll see when we get there. But I just have to remove that boggin bolt and remove that upper jam nut completely, and then that'll come out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just take this 15 millimeter jam nut right off. And there we go. That's your jam nut. Now the 13 millimeter adjuster bolt. And you want to turn it counterclockwise. That'll loosen the belt, and then once the belt's off a bit, we can go ahead and take that lower hinge bolt out and the wires off. Okay, so we'll of course have to loosen the hinge bolt before we can actually move the slack on the belt. Okay guys, you see that right there? That is the back side of the fastener you want to get out, and it's actually got like a little tab on it to keep it from spinning. So you can go ahead and just remove it from the other side. I did have to jack it up a bit, and you can see right there, that's the 15 millimeter bolt head. And then further up, there's the fastener there, that's 10 millimeter in there. So you just want to socket on a small ratchet, and then there's just a little plug above that. It's just got a little tab on it that pries out, and then you pull that off. So I'll film what I can here, but I'm just explaining it first because I know it's hard to really see. Okay guys, got my 10 millimeter there. Make sure you have your battery disconnected first. Oh, there we go, the nut's in the end of the socket, so I guess I got that off. There we go. Make sure you clean up this eye when you have it apart, and put a little dielectric grease on it. Okay, I'm just going to remove that fastener next. And it looks like, I think this fastener should be going from the front side so you can access it with an impact. But it seems to be put in backwards, which is probably my fault, since I think I'm the one that installed it. Okay, it looks like we got this bolt coming out here. There, the retainer nut fell off, so there's just so much mud and grit on everything from all our off-roading escapades, and I don't have proper splash shields on this car, so it makes it worse when I go mudding and stuff. It just gets everywhere under here and all up in the engine, so it makes things a little bit tricky to work on. This car really sees a lot of abuse. There we go. You can see how rusty that bolt is. So it's a little stuck, but if we just go ahead and grab that belt. Okay guys, I don't know how much of that you could see, but I've got the belt off, and now the goal would be to get the bottom out off the hinge, and then you can pull it off the retaining stud on the top. So it's stuck in there pretty good, so I'm using a pry bar. And I still have that plug because I'm having trouble getting the plug off. Maybe I'll be able to now. It's a bit more accessible. Oh, it has one of those red retainer tabs right here in the plug. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll have to get that pulled and then it should come out easy. Okay, I just got a little pry bar there. Get in there and pop that tab out. Nice and easy. And slide the plug off, hopefully. Okay, that plug's kind of broken up, but the retainer tab should still hold it in place. There we go, it's off the hinge point. Now I'm pretty sure I have to take this brace out here, and then I can get it out through here, I hope. I'm hoping I don't have to take the lower bracket off, but I might. It's been a while since I did one of these. This one has 330,000 kilometers on it, so that's over 200,000 miles. Gives you an idea of how often you actually have to change one. Not very often. These are good alternators. Mitsubishi made these alternators for the Neons. So now you just want to go ahead and remove this this brace here. I've already got it off, but I'm just showing you it's got a stud up top, but it's actually got a retainer on it, so you may have to hold it in there while you're loosening it, and then the bottom one you just have to loosen the nut. Comes right out. They're both 15mm nuts. Okay, you can see the alternator's actually back there, and what I did is I lifted it off the upper stud. The upper stud's still there, and I just pulled it out, and then you can put it back there, and then there are 3 15mm fasteners holding that bracket on, the alternator bracket here. So take them all out, I guess, and get that bracket off, and then we should be able to squeeze the alternator out right here. There we go, it's just as easy as that. Now we'll see if we can get that alternator out. So I actually do have my car jacked up, but I don't have all the weight off the wheel, so I'm just going to take all the weight off the wheel. That will allow that CV axle to droop a bit more, and then the alternator will come right out. And there we go, you can see that worked rather well. I've heard some people say that you have to take the axle out, but I don't see why you'd do that. It's way easier to take that bracket off. So you can hear that rubbing on the rear bearing or bushing or whatever. That's what was overheating right here. This part was measuring over 400 degrees on my temperature gun. You can see how the mud's just kind of crusted on there from the heat. There's your hookups. So your red tabs right there if you couldn't see it when I was under the car, and then this is a 10mm here. Okay, I got my Scotch pad and my dielectric grease here, and I'm just going to clean up that electrical eye. Okay guys, I'm just installing the used alternator, the new one, new to me, whatever. And I'm going to do it from laying underneath so I can see what's going on. So the idea is to just get it up there and then get that top fastener hooked. Okay. There we go. Now it's hanging from the top fastener. So now we can put the lower bracket back on and go about fastening it all up and doing the wires back up. I'm just going to put this bracket on from under here as well. Okay, those are all tight, so now get the bottom slid in. I'm just going to use my little pry bar to position it in the brackets more precisely. Okay, I'm going to make sure to put this bolt through from the front side this time. Got our 10mm nut, we'll just put back on for the power wire here. So here's your nut that goes on the back side of that fastener there to hold the hinge point. So just put the tab in so that it catches on the alternator as it tightens. Okay, and with that bolt head now on the outside, I can actually tighten it with my impact, but you want to put the belt on first and tension the belt. So we're going to do that. Okay, the alternator's in place down there, and I just want to caution you on these tensioners, like you want to put your lock nut back on there and everything, and you put it down but not all the way tight, and then you snug down your end bolt, but be checking the actual belt tension by hand, and I'll show you what proper belt tension looks like, how much slack it should have in it. You don't want to just lock down on that bolt because you can actually get it too tight and damage your alternator and your other accessories. So now make sure once you've got the belt on, you lock down your 15mm jam nut up top, and then lock down your 15mm hinge bolt down here, and then you want to put your brace back in, of course. So here we'll get the hinge bolt right now with the impact. I have a swivel on there, makes it a little easier to get on. There we go. Okay, the installation's pretty well done. The belt's all tensioned correctly, and I just wanted to show you the correct amount of play. When your belt's tensioned correctly, it should be just like this. That's probably a little on the loose side if you're installing a new belt, because they normally stretch a bit, so I'll set them a bit tighter. But this belt's already used. It's already stretched all it's going to stretch, so that's about where you want it tensioned, maybe a touch tighter. This is a pretty short belt. What you want to do, and I can't stress this enough, is double check your belt tension after you lock everything down. Double check it again, because things have a habit of moving as they square up, as you tighten them down, and it can really affect the tension. So now we're going to go ahead and put this back in. Okay, so our alternator replacement's all complete here on the Neon. You can see I never had to take the wheel off or anything. I just had it turned over, and I had the car just jacked up and blocked on that side, so I had this nice area to get under, and that's all I had to do. Pretty simple little job, takes about an hour to do, and the only thing left to do now is hook up the negative battery cable and give it a quick test run. You can see my car has a battery light right there. So if that battery light goes out after it starts, we should be good. And it does. So I think that pretty well concludes this repair. Thanks for watching Matt's Garage. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and have yourself a great day.